Welcome to Smartphone Show 36, in what's been dubbed iPhone Week, no less. In this show there's my attempt at reviewing the Apple iPhone in 1 minute flat, a bumper crop of smartphone news, and I look at how the iPhone fits into the worldwide smartphone scene and how you can apply one important lesson from its user interface to your existing S60 smartphone. Yes, as you watch this, the world's media is going crazy covering the simultaneous launch of the iPhone across America. Somehow I think this hype and then release cycle could catch on. 10 out of 10 to Apple's PR team anyway, and I'll have more on the iPhone in a couple of minutes. Motorola's spanking new Ryzer Z8, powered by Symbian OS and a non-touchscreen version of the UIQ3 interface, is here, in the shops. I've had to delay my video review of the Z8, dubbed the multimedia monster by Motorola, until the next show, simply because I couldn't fit it in. But you've only got a week or two to wait, don't worry. Also nicknamed the banana phone, I'm really looking forward to putting the Z8 through its paces and comparing it to that other multimedia monster, the Nokia N95. Maybe I should do a head-to-head. It seems other cutting-edge Symbian smartphones are hitting real streets too, with the news that the Nokia E90 is now available in some countries, and the likes of the E65 and E61i are now being distributed, unlocked, in the USA through traditional IT channels. And about time too. Wake up, Americans, you don't have to buy every smartphone locked down to a carrier. In a worthy attempt to break the technical stalemate and get digital TV on your mobile up and running, the European Commission has recommended that all EU countries standardise on the DVB-H system. Getting a digital TV network up and running is a costly business, but hopefully things will move faster now. Finland, home of Nokia's N77 and N92 of course, already has the system up and running, apparently. Jaiku, an up-and-coming chat, blogging and presence utility, very Web 2.0, is now available, hot off the press, in a native S60 form. Go grab your beta copy now, and let's see who's out there. Also for S60, don't forget to register on s60.com. It's free, and Nokia insist on giving away free games, apps and themes. This month it's been SMS export to help you archive your text messages away for posterity. The voice-over IP and multi-platform instant messaging application Fring, made popular on S60, is now available for Windows Mobile 5 and 6, provided you have Wi-Fi or 3G on board, of course, which does limit the compatibility list slightly. Sling Player is now finally compatible with Windows Mobile 6, as well as Symbian-based S60 handsets, and there's Windows Vista support as well. Sling Player, if you remember, lets you watch your home TV and control all its associated equipment from anywhere on the internet. Pretty cool, as long as you have a fast and cheap enough data connection. Finally, one of the side deals being done around the iPhone is that apparently YouTube are going to make all their videos available in the higher quality H.264 format. Ostensibly for iPhone compatibility, but note that many current smartphones have H.264 video compatibility already. Hopefully YouTube pages will soon come with a hook or link for smartphones to follow and play. One minute. I've got 1 minute to review the iPhone. Okay, very quickly. The iPhone follows through most of Apple's claims for it. It's a sumptuous music and media player, at least if you're already an iTunes user, the PC and Mac suite that the iPhone depends on. It's not bad as a phone with good voicemail features, but making a simple phone call can take many more screen taps than on traditional phones. The iPhone is a pretty good web browser, and I'll forgive the lack of Flash or Java support, as I hate these anyway. But it's very slow over Edge. 2 minutes for the Yahoo homepage to load, and only really works well when you're stationary and logged into a Wi-Fi network. It's adequate for calendar contacts, although the virtual keyboard text entry is flawed in that simple punctuation like full stops and commas are hidden away. There's no copy and paste functions, which may be a deal breaker for some. The main issues for most people will be the limitation to AT&T in the USA. When are we going to see the iPhone SIM-free and the fixed battery, limited to only 300 charges before its life declines, after which you have to send the iPhone away to be serviced? How am I doing? 10 seconds left. Okay, other niggles include the camera being average and not being able to record video at all, the lack of any native games, you can't search within your PIM data, and you can't use your iTunes songs as ringtones. Phew. It is, of course, a fact of life that the less functionality something has, the easier it is to use. And this is why you can pick up a child's Fisher-Price toy and exercise everything it can do in a single second. Whereas with something as complex as, say, a Nokia E90 communicator or HTC Advantage, you'd still be puzzling some things out a year after purchase. And in between, of course, there's every shade, colour and hue of gadget and device. And why is this particularly relevant? The Apple iPhone, of course, coming at the whole arena of smartphones completely from left field and seemingly reinventing everything, and from which there are some lessons which existing smartphone manufacturers and smartphone owners can draw. Apple's cleverness isn't, in my opinion, in the way they've produced the first practical mass-market capacitive touchscreen device. Now there's a mouthful. Although that's an impressive start, but in the way they've managed not to overcomplicate the whole idea of a smartphone. Because S60, UIQ, Palm OS and Windows Mobile have grown up, so to speak, evolving over the years, features and functions have been incrementally added to the point where something of the simplicity of the iPhone seems a breath of fresh air. Now, as mentioned just now, there's a direct relationship between simplicity and ease of use, between functionality and complexity. But in Apple's case, they've bent this usually straightforward relationship, allowing perhaps 70% of an S60 smartphone's power and functions, while being arguably twice as easy to use, for a newcomer at least. Of course, it's that last 20% of perhaps vital functionality which is the most, quote, techie and the hardest to introduce in a non-confusing way, which is why the chart here is a curve rather than a straight line. But it's clear that the iPhone sits off the usual line, giving it a clear advantage in the usability stakes at least. Let's take the single most obvious facet of the iPhone's interface, its application launcher. With 16 fixed-in-stone icons, there's no chance of the user messing things up by making an icon go away, or of him or her not being able to find an application. And with third-party software to be implemented purely as online widgets in the Safari browser, there's no need to worry about giving single-icon access to these. Depending on who exactly buys the iPhone, this system is either foresighted genius or a horrible lockdown. I have a feeling that the existing iPhone functionality and an occasional foray into Web 2.0 will be perfectly sufficient for 99% of their users. And what of the current most popular smartphone interface by far, Nokia's S60? As with Symbian stablemate UIQ and Windows Mobile, the phone-centric design has meant the use of a phone-like standby screen in which numbers can be dialed directly, just as if on a dumb phone. Leaving aside a few configurable standby shortcuts, the way to get to most applications is by pressing a key to get to the main application launcher, which is the other way around, the iPhone's emphasis on the application launcher switcher, with a separate icon to launch a phone dialer. I've never been entirely happy with the way most smartphones revert to their standby screen, however clever they try and make it, with calendar features, for example, and the iPhone way of presenting the main functionality first, only a tap away, makes a lot of sense. Once you do get through to the S60, for example, application screen with the grid of up to 12 icons, you start to realise that A, the grid contains folders, each containing other applications that aren't immediately obvious. B, the grid itself is not fixed in stone and can indeed be totally different between two different S60 devices, according to the functionality the manufacturer is trying to push. And C, you can easily move icons around and even between folders, adding more than 12 icons to a folder, and meaning that you have to scroll down to see the icons below the display bottom. Now, all this flexibility, of course, is tied up with S60 being touted as a full smartphone platform, massively configurable, shipping with over 50 built-in applications, and extendable with hundreds of third-party native programs covering ebooks, navigation, security, and 3D games. Which brings us back again to the functionality and complexity curve from earlier. And although manufacturers try to guess which applications their device owners will use most, the chances are that you, for one, don't conform, and there's plenty of mileage in taking a leaf out of the iPhone's book and taking 2 minutes to reorganize your application screen, moving the icons that you access most into prime position in the top level of the launcher. Very few people ever use more than 12 different apps on any smartphone, so this simplified single-level launcher makes quite a bit of sense. Staying with applications, the iPhone, like Windows Mobile, doesn't have a concept of exiting an application. You simply use apps in turn, with each coming to the foreground as needed. S60 applications, with their developers probably eyeing up the meagre RAM in many S60 devices, often come with exit prominently displayed. But note that you can speed up your smartphone a lot by generally ignoring this function on any application that you're going to be using a lot. In other words, simply switch away when you need the next app and let your favourites sit in the background waiting for instant recall. Techies will protest at this point and point to potential out-of-memory errors on some Symbian-powered smartphones. But this is missing the point. For the vast majority of people, keeping the likes of calendar, messaging, music player and web all loaded all the time means instant loading. Hey, as fast as the mocked-up iPhone demos. Finally, I couldn't leave this iPhone-centric smartphone show without at least a pointer towards Ricky and Stefan's fairly funny and fairly pointed N95 versus iPhone commercials. Have a look.